Saturday, mothers gathered at the Galatasaray Square in Taksim, Istanbul, where the police blockade continued despite the Constitutional Court's ruling on violation of rights. The mothers were detained over saying, "Obey the Constitutional Court's ruling, lift the blockade at Galatasaray immediately." While criminal complaints filed against President Erdogan, who targeted Gezi Park protesters by calling them sluts, were concluded with verdicts of non-prosecution, visual designer Berkay Kahvecioğlu, who illustrated Erdogan's speech with his portrait, was charged with insulting the president. In 2022 alone, 7,600 new cases were filed under Articles 299 and 301 of the Turkish Criminal Code, which are organized under the heading Offences against the Signs of Sovereignty of the State and the Dignity of its Bodies. While 7,712 citizens were prosecuted in these cases, 16,753 citizens stood trial last year, including the cases filed in previous years. 1,872 of them were convicted, 3,135 people faced a deferment of the announcement of the verdict. The trial of journalist Rabia Çetin, who was charged with targeting people who took part in the fight against terrorism and insulting a public official for sharing a tweet announcing that the father of Deniz Poyraz, who was previously murdered during the attack against People's Democratic Party's Izmir office, was sued, started. The lawsuit filed against Gani Kaplan, former president of Pir Sultan Abdal Cultural Association, who was accused of making terrorist organization propaganda due to his press statement and social media posts, ended in acquittal at the first hearing. The lawsuit filed against Diken news portal writer Levent Gültekin, who was charged with insulting Erdogan for saying the president is openly lying to the society, in a program on Halk TV, concluded with acquittal. The first trial of the lawsuit filed was held against 19 people, including 3 journalists who were detained in the press declaration held in Bursa on February 12, 2021, to protest the trustee rector appointed to Boğaziçi University. The lawsuit filed against DCA, who was detained while distributing March 8 leaflets in Izmir last year and was 17 years old at the time, due to violating the law on meetings and demonstrations number 2911, concluded with acquittal. Diyarbakır Chief Public Prosecutor's Office's indictment against 22 people, including 20 journalists, on charges of terrorist organization membership was accepted by Diyarbakır 4th Assize Court. 16 journalists have been under arrest for 10 months and the hearing of the case will be held on July 11th. Osman Şiban, who was detained, tortured and thrown out of a helicopter by soldiers in Çatak district of Van, was sentenced to 7 years and 6 months in prison in the lawsuit filed against him due to terrorist organization membership after the incident was revealed. Şiban was seriously wounded due to torture, and Servet Turgut, who was tortured with him, had died. An investigation was launched against reporter Cengiz Özbasar due to inciting the public to hatred and hostility or denigration for a news article published in Mesopotamia Agency titled "Workers Talk About Dedaş." An investigation was launched against reporter Rengin Temuçin for the news article titled "Şırnak University Rector Mehmet Emin Erkan Seized Public Lands," published in Cumhuriyet Daily, due to slander, insult, and obtaining and disseminating personal data. An investigation was launched into the speeches made by party executives and People's Democratic Party parliament member Remziye Tosun at the opening of the election office of the Green Leftist Future Party in Yenişehir district of Diyarbakır. The police intervened in the opening of the election office of the Green Leftist Party in Yüksekova district of Hakkari, with tear gas and water cannons on the grounds of the slogans shouted. Many people were detained. 6 people, including the parliamentary candidates and Bolu provincial chairman of the leftist party, were detained in Bolu. The gendarmerie intervened in the vigil launched by the villagers who were struggling against the cement factory under construction in Muğla's Menteşe district and demanded the cancellation of the project. 11 people were beaten and detained. In Viranşehir district of Urfa, the gendarmerie once again intervened against the villagers who did not want a solar power plant to be built in their pasture areas. 3 people, including the headman of Subaşı neighborhood, were detained. The Istanbul Anatolian 6th Criminal Judicature Peace imposed an access block against the News on Republican People's Party's Istanbul Parliament member Özgür Karabat's statements about TRT's payments to production companies associated with the president's son, Bilal Erdoğan, and related news reports. Cumhuriyet Daily columnist Mustafa Balbay's column titled "A Trade Blacker Than Black Oil" was blocked from access by the Istanbul Anatolian 3rd Criminal Judicature Peace.